This is things you might not have heard, and I am Jacob and Payne, and coming to you today, a little new, a little fresh, a couple new things happening here. So we're glad to be a part of your world today. I am going to give you, as always, on a Monday morning, 10 stories that you can use to get your day started and get your week started. Because we have two extra stories for the 2 extra days of the weekend, and we want you to enjoy yourself with the news we provide. We'll tell you more about how you can help us help that effort out with better news, if you will. But right now, let's get into this top episode. The Conversation Project is a place, a natural place, if you will, where we are home for headline news, information, and pop culture references that are worth chatting about. Today, we have some breaking news that really is sad, tragic. I'm trying to get some arms around. We do have stories, updates as we do on the activity in Australia and in Rhode Island. Of course, today, learning last night as I went to bed or this morning, Rob Reiner and his wife were killed overnight. Also, Ashleigh Banfield getting some shifting from her roles at NewsNation. And John Cena gets his final match, and it goes out basically exactly as was planned, although it may not have been exactly what you wanted. Plus, we have 10 stories total, I guess 5 other stories to talk about throughout the day. I want to give you those details, but I'll remind you that you can find us online anytime at this. It's conversationproject.com. Find online replays of these shows here. Plus, you can also find more details about how we do things and the why as well. Also, the way we sell things to you, the way we keep things going, lights on, if you will, by going to the website and visiting our partnership page or our sponsorship page. We'll talk about one sponsor in a bit that will be one we're spotlighting, being, of course, Ground News. Let's get into the headlines for today. A lot to get into, really heavier stuff than expected. Let's get started. We start off with what is breaking news to me from this morning, because basically I didn't see it until this morning, but breaking news from late last night as Rob Reiner and his wife were found dead in their Los Angeles home in an apparent stabbing incident. LAPD says the filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singh Reiner, found fatally stabbed at their Brentwood home. Homicide detectives are leading the probe. This is seen as a homicide. That is something that was a suicide or something that was suspected that they did on themselves. Authorities have not announced a suspect or a motive yet. Autopsies and next kin notifications are still underway, but this person, essentially, they were called to respond to two people in a home. The home was Rob Reiner's in a very posh, very rich part of town, if you will, very rich part of town near Brentwood. Basically, if you remember the O.J. Simpson trials, this is basically where it was. Neighbors asked. They asked neighbors doorbell and traffic cam footage to establish timelines what went on in the residence. Media outlets are treating this as an act of homicide, limited details to avoid compromising investigation. We don't know what's happening right now. We just know they were found fatally injured, fatally stabbed. We'll deal with that stuff. You'll see more quick thrown together obituaries as Rob Reiner, not exactly foot in the grave, if you will, or many people are working on their obituaries going forward. There'll be a lot of quick tributes put together for Rob Reiner and his wife, who's also very well protected in the Hollywood scene. But the story will continue, and the story will get updated as we get updates. Another breaking news story to us, something that was not exactly in our venue, is Jimmy Lau, who was convicted in Hong Kong in a landmark national security trial. A Hong Kong court found that the publisher, Jimmy Lau, is guilty of 3 national security charges. A ruling rights group calls it a watershed moment for the press freedom. Now, prosecutors argue that Lau colluded with foreign forces through calls for sanctions and publishing materials that, excited dissatisfaction, if you will. That's a quote from the prosecutors. Sentencing will follow with convictions under the security law carrying lengthy prison terms and set a precedent for future media cases in that place. So coordinated responses will come in from the UK and US, rely holds residency ties and advocacy networks. There are people here in the States and overseas in the UK that don't want to see this happen quite the way it is. We will see what goes on there. This is a case that is literally a Chinese Hong Kong case, as opposed to something we're really focusing on here. This is a big deal for us because he is a big-time publisher and has a lot of ties and things like that. We will see how this one will play out going forward. Like I said, breaking news headlines that are coming out that we will have to kind of force to see what's going to News headlines we were working with all weekend, including the release of the person after being questioned in the deadly Brown University shooting coming from the weekend. Providence police released the person in question of the Brown University shooting that left 2 dead. No charges have been announced. This was a long sort of struggle where they found someone in a hotel that's like, yeah, I've been here for hours, and he was listed as a person of interest. Early on, reports showed him as a suspect. He was released. We will see what happens going forward. Report said the individual was detained with a firearm and a hoodie at the Island Hotel. Investigators have not linked to weapons, the weapons that was used there, to what was there at the scene public. Campus remains on heightened security, and authorities are processing evidence and reviewing surveillance. I believe after late yesterday, they allowed people to back to vehicles and get their stuff back from many places that were being locked down. This happened, of course, late into Friday or Saturday, where finals were happening. Campus has been closed since the incidents. People were basically sent home at this point. Everything is shut down going forward. Messaging from this is urging patience while ballistics and forensics are doing the complete work to figure out what exactly went down in the past days. Expect more details to come slowly. We did get as many details as possible from the authorities as they knew them. Expect new details to come slowly from this actual incident. The number was raised from 13 to 15 that were killed in the Australian beach shooting that targeted Jewish Hanukkah gathering in Australia. Police say now 15 people were killed at a Hanukkah event near Sydney's Bondi Beach. Multiple suspects were detained as investigators are going on to this to continue what's happening here. National Cabinet will review gun laws and need questions about the access to weapons security. What they have are two people that essentially they're calling that were in charge, like a father and a son duo. The father is deceased. The son was recuperating in hospital last time we had any updates on him. What we're finding out about the laws, they're very strict in Australia. The guns that were used, at least their expected use, were owned by the person legally. The father had the right and the legal right to own 6 weapons. When they checked his belongings, they found 6 weapons that belonged to the father, and that's all they have so far. We will find more details about this. Leaders are coordinating with victim supports and vigils. There's still some people who have not been identified or not been next of kin identified, so there's still some folks that are still being held back for some ideas. But the big issue is there's a lot going on here. There'll be plenty of stories dealing with donations for what's going on, dealing with mental health, which is a lot going here, and of course dealing with anti-Semitism and racism, and just people who just have the wrong ideas about many things going forward. What's really being weird push on this one is the push from the Israelis, who are basically railing against Australians for saying they are anti-Semitic, while the Australians are saying this is something we don't do, this is something we are not. We are putting our arms around the communities and trying to fix things going on. Once again, updates slowly as they find them out to be more detailed. We'll see more details on this one. We're going to wrap up the first half of stories of the day with a news story out of NewsNation with Ashleigh Banfield going off the air. She's stepping away from her on-air role, her 10 o'clock show, to lead True Crime Digital Division. All that means is she's going to keep doing what she's doing, a true crime type of show, but it'll be more of a podcast and more of a online digital scene as opposed to the nightly show she's running on NewsNation right now. It's going to focus directly on true crime and on just expanding on that part, which is what they brought her there for in the first place. Her final broadcast will be slated somewhere next month in January, who actually positions her as a critical lead and a developer as opposed to just an on-air talent. Here's what's happening. It's a twofold thing. As a person who watches NewsNation, more of a curiosity, but less of that so as it is becoming a bigger source of actual news. Well, NewsNation is actually making a true crime emergence engagement in the podcast video crossovers to bring more people to its platform, which is why Banfield was there in the first place. They're also moving away from the true crime spectacle that is the killing of the sort of vibe they have doing the news coverage going forward. They're going to look a lot more. They're going to look a lot more like a Fox News or CNN in primetime once they get rid of this one show that doesn't really fit that mold, the true crime-ish type of show. Now, back in the day, way back in the day, when news coverage had to be sort of balanced, you had all these different pieces that made a cable news channel what it was. Now they're all pretty homogeneous. That's what you can get from Banfield coming forward, and that's what happened. So look for more things that are YouTube or TikTok friendly from Banfield in the coming months. Who's going to get the 10 p.m. slot? No one knows yet. Chances are it will be more closer to a news magazine or a chatty show than it will be a specific crime drama type of show. So we've done some changes. We're doing some things. Hopefully the sound is good. I'm looking at a different graph of sound, and it looks pretty good to me today. We'll see how it goes when we actually cut this thing up later. But you let me know how we're doing today, and let me know how we're doing in general. And while we're doing that, this is the part where I remind you that you need your help. So here it comes. Like, share, subscribe to the work we're doing today. Like what you're seeing, and if you like it via the platform on YouTube, on X, on Facebook, the algorithm should share this with more people, so more people should be involved. Share with like-minded people so that more people will hopefully be involved and will actually join in on the fun and engage and grow them organically. And if you're not getting this directly into your feed, subscribe to it so you get it. It's a natural thing. Like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you're getting the best thing you can, which hopefully is us. We want to grow this thing exponentially. That's a big word, but that's a big goal, and that's a big ask. So we're asking you to help us do this, not by liking it and sharing it, subscribing it to 12 different channels. Not that you would do that, but liking it and sharing it so that more people can see it, and hopefully will like it and subscribe going forward. YouTube TV is one of our sponsors. So you can go to our website, click the link for YouTube TV. You can get it for a great discount. But more discounts are coming as they're announcing more new lower cost channel bundles in the next year, including a very cheap, or at least cheaper sports option for they're saying. New plans launching in early 2026 include a sports plan where core sports networks are there, such as Dime, Sunday Ticket, and Red Zone as add-ons at a much discounted price. Although by that time, Red Zone add-on will be kind of useless, but you get the point. Shift moves the service closer to a la carte like service, letting subscribers trim entertainment and news while keeping sports, if that's what you want. The sports plan retains unlimited DVR, multi-view, and key plays, positioning it among legacy cable's bloated channels and bundles. It gets uglier, but supposedly it's better. No pricing is included because that would be cheating, because it's supposed to be cheaper until it isn't. Now, if you compare the expected channel lineups with the current base plan, which is expensive these days, and competitors' other skinny bundles, which are better in price, don't necessarily have the same sort of cachet as you do with YouTube TV. I've been using it for quite some time. It's what I cut the cord for well back in time. So yes, I am biased, and yes, we do have them as a sponsor. So you can click the link or go to thisisaconversationproject.com/YouTube TV and click there, get a discount for your first couple of months on YouTube TV. But coming soon, coming real soon, cheaper package, including a dedicated sports package, which I'm curious to see how it's going to play itself out. Big weekend for Zootopia 2, which reclaims the top spot in the box office as Ella McCay, the brand new movie coming out, struggles in its debut. Zootopia 2 returned to number one, earning $26.3 million, more or less. It crossed the $1.1 billion worldwide mark overall. Meanwhile, Ella McCay, which opened up to some reviews and some commercials, so you was there, soft opening, 2 million, 2.1 million about there. The sequel is now this year's box office release, top box office release, and it's trying to break out with 500 million plus, 500 million plus earnings at well. So what do you expect to see from Zootopia 2? How about a fan experience for the holidays? Because family stuff. Get them in there to see this one for the holidays. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, another sequel, slid in steeply but remains profitable given its modest budget. So it's still making money if you haven't seen that yet. So you can see a simple weekend chart, which is 5 times a date with things that are coming up. Right now, as the Christmas box office is sort of dying down. Christmas coming up in about a week or so. Oh, 10 days. Exact. You are going to see less movies coming up that aren't blockbuster, more just sort of yeah, haven't seen yet. There's still people going to see Wicked. People going to see Wicked last weekend who didn't realize it's been out so long and it's still making money. Of course, Zootopia is the biggest money maker right now, and Five Nights at Freddy's still doing this thing. But you'll see less people see things that are expected, more people see things that are now unexpected because they need a little time and catching up for the holidays. There's a lot of NFL football to talk about. There's a lot of football in general. There was, of course, Army Navy. There's a high school, and for NFL football, there's the teams that clinched, teams that didn't clinch, and of course, the big story that isn't this one we're talking about, which is the Kansas City Chiefs, where Patrick Holmes has a broken ACL damage, and a lot of people apparently have ACL injuries this weekend. But the Chiefs not making the playoffs the first time in like a decade. But for the first time in 5 years, Philip Rivers is playing quarterback and plays for the Colts, and he almost brought his team back to a very big win. Comeback falls a little short with a tight game versus the Seahawks. Seattle beat Indianapolis 18-16 on Jason Myers' sixth field goal. Lots of field goals from the Seahawks on yesterday. 56-yarder and 18 seconds left of the game. The 44-year-old Rivers returned from retirement and went 18 for 28 with 140 yards, one touchdown, and one interception. An awesome night. Sam Darnold threw for 271 yards to pace Seattle, while Jackson Smith and Jiba led the receivers with 113 yards. But here's the deal. They took 6 field goals to make it work. The Colts' 6-yard field goal briefly flipped the game to put them in their favor. But as we said, there was a comeback by Seattle, with 18 seconds left. The Colts have already odd teams to talk about. They had a great season starting, and then all of a sudden things sort of fell apart. And so they are stabbing literally so many quarterbacks. They had to pull Rivers out of retirement. 5 years since he threw a ball in the game. And somehow he almost won this game and still has a few more games in him, or at least for the season, to play. Because the Colts have no one left to throw the ball, literally. Old man Rivers, old man Cena, as John Cena, was forced to tap out in his final match versus Gunther at the WWE Saturday Night Main Event, which was touted as John Cena's final match. It was a great evening for folks who like pro wrestling, where they got a chance to showcase some of the younger stars from the NXT brand going up against some of the veterans in what was non-canon matches. So there was no titles up for grabs. There was nothing that was really there other than exhibition, except for the John Cena final match, which was a tap out to Gunther in the farewell BC match, ending the 2-1 of Mr. Cena. Fan reaction split between respect for the finish and frustration over the booking. Social media clips outperformed written recap on the night because so many people had a chance to click it, speak out to it, and have their say. After match, Gunther framed the win as a statement on pro wrestling over sports entertainment. Gunther, whose character is a wrestling purist who believes the ring is sacred and it's about beating people up in the ring as opposed to the flash of many folks in these days. But of course, it was a highlight, especially for the finale of the career. John Cena, who has been doing this for about 23 years in WWE, essentially say it's time to give it up. It's time to give somebody some rest. He's blowing up in Hollywood and needs to use that time for that time. He's still going to be attached to the WWE for many things. Still going to be doing Make-A-Wish stuff for folks and doing what he can, but doing the customary leaving his boots, or in this case, his sneakers in the ring, along with his armbands and his wristbands, giving the final salute to the fans as he steps away from competition onto a next level of ambassador for WWE. This is the time for Words of the Year from various platforms, various places, all trying to get their say, all trying to get a little bit of their 15 minutes of fame into this platform. And this time we go from Merriam-Webster, which is the dictionary folks, who have slop as its word for 2025. Selecting slop as the word for 2025, the word of the year, finding it as low-quality digital content, often AI generated. The choice reflects rising concern over deepfakes, junky AI books, and misleading visuals flooding the feeds, yours included, and mine included. Lookup spikes and cultural ubiquity drove the pick, along with shortlist entries, which could have been picked for performative or touch grass. Those could have been those, but no, we're going with slop, at least Merriam-Webster is. Slop is used pretty um, ostensibly, if you will. Everyone's saying it. AI slop is the thing that people are complaining about all year long, especially some of the things that are meme like. And a lot of Donald Trump stuff is AI slop stuff. Things that are just bad, just terrible. Just put in some algorithms, put in a couple of prompts, you get something that's viewable, yes, but kind of useless and terrible as well. So AI slop is your word for the year for your Webster. You've had plenty of other people with other things, top words and top sayings of the year. You get to choose. I mean, brain rot was last year. Was yeah, they're all over the place. So look for your particular bad word of the year from your particular source as needed. We are wrapping up the 10 stories for the day. So now let's go to the part where I sell you something. So part is for Ground News. Ground News is a platform. It's a website. It's an app for Apple and for Google. And it is a great way to get a hold of the best news possible, which is all the news, more news than you can actually. Ground News allows you to just organize and understand what's going on in the world by seeing what's going on in the world. You can see all the news from various sources, various angles, whether it's local, national, or international, from a news headline that you may think is a bit suspect or you may think is a little too good. You can see just how good it is and how it's being done by other folks. Find out what's behind the actual backers of that organization. Find out what's behind the people who are paying the folks doing that podcast. Find out what's behind the headline and some of the details in the stories. And if you use our affiliate link, this is a conversationproject.com/Ground News. You get a chance to get 40% off their Vantage plan. You can get news for less than $1 a month, which news headlines, news coverage, which will give you a chance to use their blind spot feature, which allows you to see what stories you're being overly fed by different silos, what stories the Reds are shooting down completely, but also overtaking completely, and vice versa. You get to see what stories are being overly played with, overly shot, overly covered by using the blind spot feature and other big features in your Advantage plan. You get news all over, which is a great deal. So check it out at this conversationproject.com/Ground News. We get a small commission back for you using it. This is where it lives. This is conversationproject.com/Ground News. Now, we are glad to be a part of the world, glad to be doing what we can do, glad to be switching slides so they're not showing up, and glad to give you where you can find us at this is conversationproject.com. Also, conversationinbox@gmail.com. Those places get a hold of us, the website for all the things that are living there, the email address to chat up what you want to chat up. You can find us on Facebook and X for our feeds. When you follow the feeds, you get to see the news headlines as we post them every 50 minutes or so. That means you get to vote up or vote down, essentially, the stories we chat about every single weekday morning for this thing here. So we have that going forward. Thank you so much for being with us for this day. Today has been the Monday, December 15th edition of 2025 of things you might have heard. And as I did not say, or said once, I've been sort of blasting a while, getting closer and closer to Christmas. We are now 10 days, 5 minus 15, 10 days till Christmas. Don't mess it up, folks. Don't mess it up. It's literally in 2 weeks. Do not mess this up. Thank you so much for being a part of what we do every day. Love you, mean it. If you like what we're doing, let me know in the comments. Let me know in email. If you don't like what we're doing, let me know in comments and email what we can do to improve on what we're doing. If you're liking this little change format, we had a little time to clean the office, if you will, and plug some things in. We're going to see how it worked out. We're hoping it worked out okay. And then go from there. We're going to do our best to do better and keep on going because whatever reasons, because I'm hard-headed, we're going to keep doing this, keep pushing this thing for 2026. This may be the year we break out. Maybe. We will see. In the meantime, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. or in the hot takes throughout the day.